Welcome to the Fantasy Football Black and White Show. Week 1 preview. Our commissioner has a message.
What's up, everybody? It is week 1, finally, of the 2013 season. Everything's looking good so far. We're trying something new this year with this little video show instead of just the audio show. For anybody that's not in the league that's watching it, our league is called the Left Coast League. We all are out in California. So we'll talk a little bit about our league, then we'll talk a little bit about the NFL and what's our take on fantasy.
Basically, what we're going to start with first is our previews of the actual fantasy teams. So the first matchup that we're going to review is Venom versus starters in the game, last year's champion. This one seemed like a big toss-up. Like I wasn't sure who was going to win. There were some question marks, with RG3 coming back and how exactly all of that's going to play out. So I kind of just went with the champion and said, hey, he's a champ. He's been winning. Let's just roll with him. I think Bill is showing the screen share right now of the league, and then if you guys look at your matchups, there's actually this brand new it kind of makes it like a newspaper write-up, I guess, of the game, and it's pretty cool. It's at the bottom of the Game Center screen, and it kind of gives you like an overview, kind of a story, and then shows like the matchups, player versus player, and then it has some below it has some cool notes about each player, kind of personalizing it. And so you guys should check it out. It seems like there's a couple of glitches maybe inside of it. I don't know about their predictions. Some of them seem a little crazy, but we'll see. I ended up picking starters to win this matchup.
All right. Let's see. I have me, Venom. I am Venom, the commissioner.
I think they know that. But yeah, go ahead.
I have me as winning the this matchup. I just kind of put that RG3 just announced today he will officially be starting in round 1 or game 1. I'm sorry. Dwayne Bowe's playing against Jacksonville. That's going to be a cool matchup. Andre Johnson's playing against the Chargers. That should be a cool matchup. And I just put that starters in the game has players playing against San Francisco, Chicago, and Dallas this week. So I think it might be a little rough for him. But we'll see what happens. He is the champion from last year. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, and on a complete side note, I just looked at NFL.com, and they just announced that Terrell Pryor is the Raiders' official starting quarterback.
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen.
If that means anything to anyone, not sure that it does, but if it means anything to anyone, it's out there.
We knew it was going to happen. It was, Matt Flynn, who?
Hey, that's 2 years in a row, and you did say that was going to happen to him. So.
Yeah, he's not a leader. So, but all right, moving on. Game
versus 2. The Avengers. This game, surprisingly to me, I believe that the Avengers will win this game. You got Tom Brady. Actually, sorry, I misspoke. I think that State of Shock will win this game. You do have Tom Brady for the Avengers and Stephen Ridley playing Buffalo, but I think you got a lot of question marks with Kyle Rudolph. Will he actually score any points? And then I think that Denver's defense won't fare that well, and I just think that Matt Ryan will light up New Orleans' defense, and they will have a shootout. I think that Chris Johnson, Ray Rice will all play well. Demaryius Thomas. I just think this matchup is kind of close, but I think that State of Shock will pull this out. And the biggest thing here is I think Seattle's defense will play well and will score quite a bit of points for him this week 1 against Carolina.
Yeah, I'm just like game 1. I'm opposite of you. I got the Avengers. I think just Brady and Stephen Ridley, and he even has Steven Gostowski if you want to go that route too. all playing against Buffalo. I just think it's too hard to argue with that. The Avengers was all in on New England last year, and they went to the championship, and he's partially all in on New England again, and we'll see what happens. I just think he's going to have a good game this week.
All right. Moving on to matchup number 3, we have the bowl-bound Broncos versus First Name Greatest, which was my team. With Drew Brees versus Atlanta, I think that's going to be big. I think Andrew Luck's going to do work against Oakland, but I don't know that Frank Gore, like how well he'll do against the Packers defense. I think Alfred Morris will do well. I think, honestly, Mike Wallace for bowl-bound Broncos is going to have a tough matchup against Cleveland, and I think that Golden Tate is going to have a tough time against Carolina. And then the 49ers defense, while they are playing the Packers, and usually the 49ers defense is pretty good, I think that the Packers will score enough points to take that away. So I kind of went with my team because I think Drew Brees is going to have a big game. Reggie Bush, Doug Martin, Calvin Johnson, they're all playing weak defenses. And then I think Deshaun Jackson will be good. And then the Patriots defense versus Buffalo, I think, is a major advantage for my team. That seems as if that the Patriots defense will probably get at least one touchdown in that game.
Yeah, I agree, especially if Toole starts for Buffalo. Undrafted. We'll see what happens. I don't think he's going to start, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, I also picked your team, First Name Greatest. I went back and forth on this. Originally, I had bowl-bound Broncos winning, and then I took a second look at it. I just think Doug Martin versus the Jets and Reggie Bush versus Minnesota and Calvin Johnson versus Minnesota, I just think it's just too much for him to overcome at that point. So I went ahead and went with your team.
All right, our next matchup was Steel Curtain versus Game Time. I went with Game Time in – oh, no, man, I'm just messing up. I went with Steel Curtain in this matchup. And the main reason I went with Steel Curtain is because I think that Cam Newton and Steve Smith will not have very good games this week.
Not against Seattle.
So, yeah, and they're playing Seattle, in Seattle. So I think it's going to be tough for them to score a lot of points. And I think that really seals the deal because now you're talking about your flex position and your starting quarterback having below average games. That's tough to overcome. So I went ahead and I picked Steel Curtain in this one.
I'm right there with you. Like you said, Cam Newton, Steve Smith playing in Seattle. If you listened to the show last year, I said it last year. I'm going to say it again. Seattle in Seattle is better than Green Bay and Green Bay. In fact, this year I'm going to add a note to that. Seattle in Seattle is better than San Francisco in San Francisco. So I'm just throwing it out there. The 12th man is going to represent. So that's having two people in that matchup. That's tough. And then plus you got MJD with a bad matchup this week. You got Brandon Marshall with a bad matchup this week. It's just all bad for Game Time this week. So I'm going to roll with Steel Curtain.
That's saying a lot. I do think that is one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard, and now you're taking that a step further with that San Francisco and San Francisco. So we'll see how that works out throughout the season. But our last matchup is the Knights versus the Gauchos or
Gaucho Mongo.
Yeah, something along those lines. In this one, I picked the Gauchos. I don't really have a very great reason as to why. I mean, she does have Randall Cobb and Aaron Rodgers going against the San Francisco's defense, even though I think they'll do well in this game. But Houston's defense against San Diego, whoa. And I think Danny Amendola, while he may I think he'll do well in this matchup. I don't know about him lasting the entire season, but in this matchup, I'm saying he scores at least 16 points. So I think the Gauchos will be able to just pull this one out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The Knights have way too many bad matchups spread across this team this week. I'm not even going to go over all of them. Uh, it's just I don't know. It's pretty stacked against him. That, and he's still got two dead weight players on his bench. I'm not even gonna say who, but he knows who they are. I hope. So either way, yeah. So I went with the Knights. So it looks like we're pretty much the same, except we're split on two of them. So we'll see what happens. And for those of you that remember last year, we do this little section called Hot and Not. Who we think is going to be hot this week in fantasy football, and who we think is not going to be hot in fantasy football this week. So let's see. We'll go over our hots real quick. My hots. Every relevant starter for the Colts, including their defense, put them in this week. They're playing open. Put them in. Yeah, just start them because it's gonna be all good for the Colts this week. The Bucks D and Doug Martin versus the Jets. That's another one. Oakland, the Jets, probably the two worst teams in the NFL this year. Put them in. And my last one is most of you 49er fans, your old quarterback, Alex Smith. I'm rolling with Alex Smith this week as being hot.
I just picked a few players. It seemed as if there was a lot of teams that were going to do well this week. You know what I mean? And it didn't seem like there was a lot of questionable matchups in the NFL. It seemed like really there's a lot of like lopsided matchups where it's pretty easy to see who's going to win. So I picked out, I think Matt Stafford's going to have a big game. I don't know that he's going to win that game necessarily, but I think he's going to have a big game. The other two quarterbacks I'm really excited to see is Michael Vick and RG3. I think this matchup will be explosive. So if you have Alfred Morris, LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, you got these players, put them in. And the crazy thing is there's going to be probably a couple other players that are not the mainstream people, maybe like someone like Riley Cooper or something, that are going to make big plays in this game. So there's going to be a lot of points scored. I'm expecting something like 35-31, something like that in this matchup. So we'll see how it explodes on Monday night. The other player, and I didn't put this in my bold prediction, but I really think that Reggie Bush will be the #1 scoring fantasy running back this week.
That's right. I said it. I said it. It had to be said. Somebody got to say it.
So he's hot. He's on my team, so I'm going to start him. So, but I think he's going to be the #1 fantasy running back this week just because in that offense, it plays to all of his strengths. All the things he does well, getting him in open space and just making something happen.
All right, and for the not section, who do we think are going to be chumps this week? I already kind of hit it on it, but Cam Newton, not a good start this week. Playing against Seattle. I think Cam Newton's going to be a beast this year. I really do, but I don't think it's going to start off on week 1. I just don't see it happening. So Cam Newton and Steve Smith, if you got them, sit them. Unless that's your only option, then roll with it. But I suggest not starting him against Seattle. Brandon Marshall versus Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's defense is very good. So I don't trust that matchup at all. Let's be honest. If you got Brandon Marshall, you're going to be starting him. Unless you got like the all-star, elite, crazy good wide receiver team. But I just think Brandon Marshall's going to have a bad week this week. And CJ2K versus Pittsburgh. This is more of a I have a feeling kind of thing. I'm not a big fan of Pittsburgh's defense this year. I mean, they'll be solid just like they are every year, but I just think they're going to get abused a little bit this year. But this week I think Pittsburgh's defense is going to step up, and I don't think CJ2K is going to have a very good outing.
I'm right there with you as far as the Cam Newton thing. Steve Smith, because I did list Cam Newton versus Seattle. The only difference with Steve Smith is really it only takes one big desperation play for him to actually have a good week. You know what I mean? Just one like 40-yard touchdown, 50-yard touchdown, which he's capable of pulling off at any point in the game, even if it is in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? And they're losing that game, and they're trying to do what they got to do. So I think Steve Smith is like he's a maybe. You know what I mean? He's not a safe, but I mean, I guess if you have him as your flex, I mean that's kind of what you have your flex for. You know what I mean? It's people that you're more taking a risk on. But Cam Newton for sure is I wouldn't start him if I had a better option on my bench or a comparable option. And I think they have what Tony Romo on that team who has Cam Newton. So I'm not saying game time to start Tony Romo, but I'm just saying I don't know about starting Cam Newton. How about we'll go there? Um, your boy Lamar Miller, I think he's gonna have a tough time finding the running game against the Browns. I actually think that the Dolphins in general are going to have a tough time against the Browns. I think the Browns do come out week one on fire. Their defense was already really good last year, and I think they'll just be that much better with the offense that at least can move the ball, let them get some rest, and kind of give them, a chance to play at tip-top shape instead of always being behind, always being on the field. I think their defense will be that much better this year. And then also offensively, I think that the Dolphins will be playing from far behind, which will take away Lamar Miller's effectiveness. And I really don't trust Tannehill. I don't care what no one says. So I give a thumbs down to Mike Wallace, who I think is overrated in just the name, even though I do have a Mike Wallace jersey. But whatever, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. I agree with the Dolphins. I mean, I'm me. This year I'm high on Cleveland, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, on to our NFL picks. So this year, since there was a lot of games going on, like the Thursday night, the Sunday night, the Monday night, the other Monday night, we decided for week one to go with those picks. So Thursday night is Baltimore versus Denver. To me, this is a pretty cut and dry one. They're in Denver. Baltimore defense, we have no clue what we're going to see. They look tough in some of the games in the preseason, but in reality, we have no clue what we're going to see. Denver's defense is a little bit of a question mark there, but Joe Flacco traditionally plays crappy on the road. So week one, I think Denver just outscores Baltimore. Like bottom line, I think that one may be a high-scoring affair, but I just think that Denver's going to come out. Wes Welker, Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, Ronnie Hillman, Monte Ball. It's going to be an offensive show.
I agree. I think the Broncos are going to win in a blowout. Peyton Manning's going to pass all over him. It's going to be he's going to put on a seminar. Basically, for the Baltimore Ravens, and he's just going to pick them apart this week. So I have Denver winning also.
The next game is the Giants and the Cowboys. Man, as a Cowboys fan, this is hard for me. I'm like, yeah, Cowboys, let's go. You look good, but I'm sketchy. Unfortunately, the Cowboys have not performed very well, especially on like Monday night and Sunday night. They always seem to be on a lot of Monday night, especially Sunday night games. Here we are opening the season against the Giants again Sunday night. Last year we came out and we kicked butt. So I'm gonna pick the Cowboys. I think with the changes with the head coach, really being able to be the head coach, not having to be the offensive coordinator / head coach, is gonna be able to allow the Cowboys to be coached up and pay attention to all those details and minor things that have held them back in the past. And Tony Romo seems to be more focused, seems to be more of a leader, and above all else, Dez Bryant is a beast, straight beast, and I think he's gonna murder on Sunday night. So I'm gonna pick the Cowboys.
All right, yeah, I'm right there with you, Cowboys. This is another one for me. It's gonna be a blowout. I should have covered this in my hots and not sections, but I didn't. But Tony Romo, you got him, put him in. Dez Bryant, you got him, put him in. Jason Witten, you got him, put him in. Just put him in. I think Romo is good. I think Dez Bryant's going to burn the Giants. I think Eli Manning throws 2 picks. I think the Cowboys get this one easy.
Obviously, I'm still sketchy. I'm picking them, but I'm sketchy. I'll see it when I believe it, and I think that's what happens when
Right there. See, I'm a Washington fan, and I'm telling everybody that the Cowboys are going to murder this week. That's bad, but it's true.
Well, if you say it, I'm gonna go with it. Next pick. So we got two Monday Night Football games. Now, woo, fireworks. This is what I see. Eagles versus Redskins. This game should be exciting. If you don't watch any other game like this whole week, watch this game. Two reasons. One, you got RG3 on that comeback, all that stuff. Oh, I swear ESPN and NFL Network must have contracts with RG3 to make him the biggest superstar in the entire galaxy, because they are posting, oh, we're going to post him lifting weights. We're going to post his bedroom. We're going to post him outside at the park. My goodness. But anyway, so Michael Vick, he seems to be way more focused, way more accurate. This offense is going to be amazing, and not just because of the type of plays, but because of the tempo. And the tempo is going to force the defense, who's probably not in the same kind of cardio shape that the offense is in, to revert back to less sophisticated styles of defense and less sophisticated blitzing, because of the fact that they're getting up to the line and getting the next play off within an average. Michael Vick's been doing it somewhere between 12 to 17 seconds. So with that being said, I think that that I'm really not sure who's going to win this game, but I think the Redskins will pull this one out because the Eagles' defense sucks. Bottom line.
Yeah, same thing. I got the same exact pick, Washington. Personally, I think this is the game of the week. I think every other game this week is, for the most part, spread across the league, a trash matchup. Week 1 does not have a lot of good games in it at all. I think maybe the Packers and Niners may rival this one for game of the week as far as games to watch. But right now, I'm going to say the Redskins and the Eagles, the game to watch of the week. It will be the best game. It's going to be a high-scoring matchup. I think Washington wins it. I think all the hype, RG3 coming back, everything else, I think it's going to be great. I think he's going to put down some points. I think Alfred Morris will put down some points. On the flip side of that, I think Michael Vick finally gets back into true form. I was a Michael Vick hater last year.
Wait. I just want you to say this out loud. I want you to look real close to the camera and say this about Michael Vick. I want to hear that.
I think Michael Vick comes back to true form this year.
Okay.
Good enough? They're good enough? I just think that they're going to be running is going to play a lot better to their strengths. I think Chip Kelly is going to scheme around him and play to his strengths, and I think it's just going to be the Michael Vick of old.
And you know what's strange is, think about it like this. All right, we know Michael Vick has injury history, a history of injuries and stuff, but he came out and said that basically he's going to run more. Yeah. And not purposely necessarily, but if the opportunity's there, instead of trying to wait and pass, he's going to be forget it. I see an opening, I'm going to run it, and I'm going to try and get this first down or as many yards as I can get. Because he's that's how I used to play, but because of the media and the kind of attention and scrutiny he's gotten for playing that way, he said he kind of tried to keep scaling it back, and play this traditional role. But, I mean, the reality is, if you have a quarterback who has that kind of athleticism, he's part of the game plan and reads. Because if you have someone like RG3 or Andrew Luck or Colin Kaepernick or whatever, you know what I mean, who can move, then you should let that be part of the offense instead of trying to hold them down. And I think it kind of took away from some of Michael Vick's game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think he's going to get back to his true form to where he's, a runner. And on the other thing is that he's a lot better pocket passer than he used to be. Old Michael Vick from the Atlanta Falcons, excellent runner, not very good pocket passer. Michael Vick of today, Philadelphia Eagles, still a good runner. I hope maybe he'll open it up more this year, and plus he's also a decent pocket passer now. So, but on that note, I do think Washington wins. I think it's going to be a high-scoring matchup, and I think basically it comes down to is that Washington has Brian Orakpo and London Fletcher.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. So, and obviously we've talked enough about Michael Vick, even though I do want to say this. When he throws the ball, it looks like he's not even trying. He just Oh, hey, 60 yards later. What's going on? Okay, on to our last matchup. I wrote down a tagline for this. Hopefully it sounds cool, you know. So we got the Houston versus San Diego. Bottom line is what I said. Houston, there is no problem here. You are clear for takeoff. The Houston Texans will annihilate the San Diego Chargers. Bottom line is this: Philip Rivers, you are a good quarterback, but you have Ryan Matthews, and I don't know who you're throwing the ball to because you got Antonio Gates, and then you got Vincent Brown, Malcolm Floyd, and then you got no offensive line. You're losing. Bottom line, that's it. There's really, I mean, I don't know what else you can really say about this game.
Yeah, right there. The Texans versus the Chargers. I think Philip Rivers is going to personally meet J.J. Watt a few times down on the bottom of the turf. It's just going to happen. So, I don't see how it's feasible that the Texans lose. I don't even see that being. I'd hate to see the odds on that, but the Texans are going to win in a landslide. It's going to be easy.
The only thing I really want to see out of this game, to be honest, is Ed Reed going to be active? And then how does Brian Cushing look? You know what I mean? Really, that's about it that's interesting in this game.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, on to the very last section and my favorite part of the show, bold prediction time. So, I'll let you start. You go ahead and you start with your bold prediction.
Mine's not very dynamic this week. It's bold, but it's not very dynamic. It's a pretty simple statement that probably could happen any given week. But the Packers come into Frisco and beat the 49ers. That's my prediction for this week. Like I said, not very dynamic, not very awe-inspiring, if you want to call it that, but the Packers come into San Francisco and beat the Niners.
Okay, let me ask this. Okay, so now we have Green Bay beating the 49ers in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
So then where does that measure up on your Seattle, Green Bay, San Francisco? Like, how does that put that on the scale?
Well, you heard it. Seattle and Seattle is better than Green Bay and San Francisco and San Francisco. And Green Bay is playing in San Francisco. So.
Okay, so what about if Green Bay and San Francisco, are they any better than Seattle and Seattle?
No. No. I don't think there's a single team in the NFL that's better at their home field of play than Seattle is.
Okay, I could agree to that. The only other team that seemed to be that great at home was probably the Ravens, which is why they never could get into the Super Bowl, because they were always playing on the road in that AFC Championship game. Mm-hmm. Very rarely did they have that opportunity to play at home in the playoffs for the most part.
Yep.
All right, so here are my bold predictions. One, I already I didn't really call this a bold prediction, but I'll put it out there. I think Reggie Bush will be the #1 fantasy running back after week 1. I think when week 1's done, he'll be the #1 fantasy running back. But here is my true bold prediction. Ben Tate, the backup running back for Houston Texans, will score at least as many points as Arian Foster, but I believe he will score more points than Arian Foster this week. That's my bold prediction.
That's pretty bold. It's pretty bold.
Yeah, so that wherever he got drafted, I'm sure he got drafted late. Wherever he got drafted.
In our league, he was drafted in like round 12 or something like that, 13.
It will pay off for at least 1 week. Beyond that, I can make no guarantees.
And considering Arian Foster was our round 1 pick one.
I mean, he was worthy of the pick. You can't.
No,
Yeah, you know, the numbers say even in the year that he was hurt, the numbers he still had good numbers where he missed. I think he missed 2 games. He played the first game, missed the second game, played the third game on, I believe, something like that. But even where he missed a game or two, he still finished in the top 5 running backs in the league. And there's not many players that can do that at any position. You know what I mean? That's like Gronkowski type where he missed how many games he missed? Like 5? Missed like 5 games. You finished number 2 by like 2 points. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, that completes this week's show. If you guys have anything, any kind of like things you'd like us to add or subtract or whatever, any suggestions, please make sure to comment below. And we will see you guys out there in fantasy football land next week.
Week 1, let's do it.
All right. Later.